and you should understand what I mean by food security. For food security, that everybody in a country, the nation, should have enough food grains produced by the country or purchased by the country to feed its population. Now, to feed the growing population, you should have physical availability of food grain first. That is the key issue actually. You should have in the first place enough grains to feed your population. Then you should be able to reach that food to all sections of the society, because there is a very large section of our people who cannot afford to buy food and live happily. So food security means physical availability of food grains, keeping pace with the growing population, and the economic accessibility, purchasing power for the people to buy food. Now, I would say, based on the situation in this country and many countries in the world, that many countries are able to produce enough grains. India is producing today 260 million tons of food grains, and that is adequate to provide 450 grams per capita per day. There is no problem absolutely as far as the physical availability of grains, there is no problem. But in this country, 240 million people go to bed hungry. So it is not because of want of availability of food grains, but they don't have purchasing power to buy food. So India is not food secure. What to talk about nutrition security? Very large number of people, because whatever we eat is not a balanced food. When you are not able to buy calorie itself, where is the question of buying actually fruits and vegetables, meat and fish and so on and so forth. So very large number of people, almost 65 to 70% of Indian population, particularly women and children, suffer from malnutrition of all kinds. So India is neither food secure nor nutrition secure. Now how we are going to achieve this? This is actually the point I want to discuss today. We started with the introduction of hybrid technology in millets, maize and sorghum and pearl millet. Almost towards the end of 50s or mid 50s introduced, towards late 50s we could have actually this hybrid technology in millets. It was followed by semi-dwarf high yielding varieties of wheat and rice in the mid 60s. Then came that hybrid technology in rice since 1990s. But China had as early as late 70s it introduced hybrid technology in rice as a technology to follow up of the the so-called high yielding dwarf varieties. Then came actually introduction of exotic oilseed crops like sunflower and soybean. Both are not our crops, oilseed crops. We introduced later. Then we have in hybrid technology in many vegetable crops, by which we could enhance the productivity. As a result of this introduction of the technologies, we could actually increase the food grain by 5-fold from 51 million tons today, 260 million tons of food grains. Edible oil we have increased 2-fold from 6.5 to 14 million tons actually. But in spite of it, that our need is another 50% we are importing, and we are spending nearly 40,000 crores annually to import 50% of our requirement of edible oil. Same is the case with pulses. We could not make much progress like in oilseed crops. We have not made much progress. Whatever progress made is only in the food grain area. Then vegetable and fruits we have increased by 5-fold, 15 to 75 million tons of fruits and vegetables. Milk is one of the very impressive progress we could make in this country. We have increased 8 folds Today we are producing about more than 110 million tons of milk. We are number one country in the world with milk production. Now our requirement is much more. If you look at actually the per capita availability of all these things, food grain there is no problem. The present level per capita availability is 440 grams and the minimum required is 460. Not much actually difference actually. We are almost able to feed this population. Cereals you see, for example, there is a little bit not much difference in the present level and the required level. But the pulses and edible oil, there is a big gap as I told you. Vegetable and fruits, 140 million tons, 140 grams per day we are able to provide today. Our requirement is 400 grams or so. Milk is 230, in spite of number one in the world, actually still our present per capita availability of milk is 230 grams and we have to increase to 300 grams. So we are having shortages, some of the very important food items. I think you can recognize this man. This is the first and only agriculture scientist who got Nobel Prize, Norman Borlaug. And he is the man who revolutionized wheat production through so-called high-yielding dwarf varieties of wheat. He observed, when he got this Nobel Prize, he observed that the Green Revolution had won a temporary success in man's war against hunger. If it is fully implemented, could provide sufficient food for humankind through the end of the 20th century. Yes, it provided food by the end of the 20th century. But what is the balance sheet? Balance sheet is very much discouraging. Now over 240 million tons, earlier it was only 200 million tons of 1 billion plus global population remaining undernourished. We only constitute 1/5 of the population without enough food. Now, and today I think Dr. Mohan Kanda in the morning said that the Millennium Development Goal was to by 2015 we should halve the, make it one half of these undernourished people. 200 million people to 100 million, but in all countries they could achieve, except in India it has increased actually the number of people who remain undernourished. If from 200 million to it has come to 240 million ton. If food grain prices are going to up and up, possibly the number will be increasing. Over 7,000 people die of hunger every day in this country. About 60% of women and children suffer from hidden hunger, what they call protein malnutrition, nutritional anemia because of the iron deficiency, low birth weight, and there are many other problems they suffer from, vision impairment and many other things because of the vitamin A deficiency. About 40,000 children go blind every year due to vitamin A deficiency. Now you can judge yourself that this country, such a populous country, 1 billion people, 1 billion plus people, they are neither food secure nor actually nutrition secure.